My son demanded my $50 million while his mother's casket was still being lowered into the ground. I looked at Ethan, standing there in his $10,000 Rolex and $80,000 Mercedes, and I simply smiled. No. The other mourners gasped. My brother Mike shifted uncomfortably. Emily's sister, Sarah, put her hand to her mouth. But Ethan's eyes flashed with that same entitled rage I had seen 14 years ago when he walked out on us. "What do you mean, no?" he hissed, stepping closer to the grave. "That money is mine by right." I adjusted my tie, the same black tie I had worn to every hospital visit he had skipped, and kept my voice calm. "Rights are earned, son." What Ethan did not know was that I had been preparing for this moment since the day he abandoned his dying mother. Let me take you back 14 years. April 5th, 2010. Emily had just gotten her diagnosis. Stage 3 ovarian cancer, but treatable. The oncologist said with treatment, her chances were decent. I was scared, sure, but we were going to fight this together. Ethan was 18 then, fresh out of high school, ready to start at New York University. We called him into the living room that evening. Emily was holding my hand so tight, I could feel her wedding ring pressing into my fingers. "Ethan, we need to talk to you about something." I started. He was already checking his phone. "Can this wait? I'm meeting friends." Emily's voice was softer than usual. "Son, I've been diagnosed with ovarian cancer." I watched his face. No shock, no concern, just annoyance. "Okay. So what does that mean for me?" he said. "It means your mother is going to need surgery, chemotherapy, radiation." I explained. "It means we're going to be spending a lot of time at hospitals. It means—" Ethan stood up. "I'm not doing this." "What do you mean?" Emily asked. "I mean, I'm not going to watch my life get ruined by cancer drama. I've got college. I've got my own future to think about." Those were his exact words. Cancer drama. Emily started crying. I stood up, but Ethan was already walking toward the door. "Ethan, come back here," I called. He turned around, and I will never forget what he said next. "You guys chose to have me. I did not choose this family, and I'm not choosing to stick around and watch it fall apart." He left that night, packed his things while we were at Emily's first oncology appointment, and moved in with his girlfriend's family. Just like that. No goodbye, no forwarding address, nothing. The first year was the hardest. Emily kept asking me to call him. "Maybe if you explain how scared I am," she would say during her chemo sessions. "Maybe if you tell him I might not make it." So I tried. God, how I tried. I called every week, sometimes twice a week. I left voicemails describing her treatments, her progress, her setbacks. I sent him photos of her ringing the bell after her first round of chemo. I invited him to Christmas dinner, to her birthday, to the 4-year survival celebration the doctor said we should have. Nothing. Year 2. The calls became monthly. He picked up exactly once. That time, he said he was busy and would call back. He never did. Year 3. I tried a different approach. I started sending money, $150 every month. Maybe if he saw we were thinking about him. Maybe if he knew we still cared. The checks got cashed, every single one, but still no calls. Still no visits. Emily never knew about the folder I started keeping. Every unreturned call, every unread text message, every refused invitation. I documented it all. At first, I thought maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe Ethan was just processing the diagnosis in his own way. Maybe he would come around. By year 4, when Emily's cancer came back and we had to start the whole nightmare over again, I realized the truth. Ethan was not processing anything. He simply did not care. The second cancer fight was harder. Emily was weaker. The treatments were more aggressive. And I was doing it all alone while sending our son $150 every month, like some kind of monthly guilt payment. But Emily never gave up hope. Even during her worst days, when the chemo made her so sick she could not keep water down, she would ask about Ethan. Have you heard from him? Does he know about the recurrence? I would lie. He's busy with work. Honey, I will try calling again tomorrow. The truth was, I had stopped calling by then. What was the point? I had 230 unreturned calls documented. 230 times he had chosen not to answer. Instead, I focused on Emily. I learned how to cook her favorite foods when her appetite disappeared. I drove her to every appointment, held her hand through every procedure, slept in hospital chairs when she had to stay overnight. And every month, like clockwork, I sent Ethan his $150. Emily saw the bank statements. She thought it was sweet that I was helping our boy get established in life. I never told her that our boy was posting pictures on Facebook of his luxury vacations while she was fighting for her life. I never told her that he had blocked me from seeing his posts. But Emily's sister, Sarah, kept me updated. Ethan graduated college, got a job at Google as a tech consultant, bought an Audi, then a Mercedes, moved into a downtown Manhattan apartment that cost more per month than most people's mortgages, all while his mother fought cancer twice, and his father sent him grocery money. But that recording from year 3, that was going to be the centerpiece of my presentation. Because on that day, I had finally asked Ethan directly, "Your mother might not make it this time. Do not you want to say goodbye?" His response would haunt me for the rest of my life. March 20th, 2024, Easter Sunday. Emily had been in hospice for 2 weeks. The doctor said it could be days, maybe hours. I was sitting next to her bed, holding her hand, watching her breathe. My phone rang. Unknown number. But I recognized the area code. Manhattan. Maybe Ethan had finally heard. Hello. Dad? It's Ethan. My heart jumped. After all these years, he was calling. Maybe Sarah had reached him. Maybe he was coming home. Ethan? Oh, God. Son. I'm so glad you called. Your mother. Yeah. I heard she's dying. The way he said it, so casual, like he was commenting on the weather. She's in hospice. Ethan, she's been asking for you. If you could just come home. Just for a few days. I can't do that. What do you mean you can't? She's your mother. Look, Dad, I'm calling because I wanted to be clear about something. When she dies, we need to talk about my inheritance. I could not speak for a moment. Emily stirred in her bed, and I lowered my voice. Your inheritance? Don't play dumb. I know about the biotech sale. 50 million. That's mine when she goes. Ethan, your mother is dying right now as we speak, and you're calling about money. She made her choice to be sick. I made mine to be successful. This is just business. I started recording the call then. I do not know why. Instinct, maybe. Or maybe I knew even then that someday I would need proof of what my son really was. This isn't business. Ethan, this is family. He laughed. Family. You call this family? I haven't lived at home since I was 18. I don't even know you people anymore. We sent you money every month for 14 years. 150 bucks. Dad, I spend more than that on lunch. You think 150 a month makes us family? Emily opened her eyes. She could hear my voice, maybe even Ethan's, through the phone. She mouthed, "Is that our boy?" I smiled at her and nodded, not wanting her to hear what her son was really saying. "Ethan, please just come see her. She doesn't have long. I'm not going to watch some dying woman guilt-trip me into caring about her. I've got my own life now. I've got important things to do." Important things. More important than your mother. You're just a failed programmer who got lucky once with some biotech startup. You don't understand the real world. You don't understand what success actually looks like. Emily was trying to sit up. She could hear the conversation getting heated. I understand enough to know that success does not mean abandoning your family when they need you most. Need me. For what? To watch her die, to hold her hand while she rots away. That's not my job. Dad, I didn't sign up for that. I had to step outside the room. Emily was getting agitated, and the last thing I wanted was for her to hear this. Your job, Ethan. She gave birth to you. She raised you. She loved you unconditionally for 18 years. And I moved out. Contract complete. Look, I'm trying to be practical here. When she dies, and let's be honest, it's going to be soon, I inherit everything as the only child. So, let's just agree on that now and save ourselves a lot of legal hassle later. What makes you think you're inheriting anything? Because that's how it works. Dad, I'm the son. You're old and probably don't have much time left either. The money comes to me. That's just basic estate planning. I walked back into Emily's room. She was looking at me with those big, hopeful eyes, thinking I was talking to our boy who was finally coming home. Ethan, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Your mother has been fighting cancer for 14 years. 14 years. During that time, you visited exactly 0 times. You've called exactly 3 times, including this call. You've sent exactly 0 birthday cards, 0 Christmas presents, 0 flowers, 0 anything. So I've paid $800,000 in medical bills alone, while you've cashed $25,200 in checks from us, like we're some charity case you're helping out. I never asked for that money. No, you just took it every month for 14 years. Emily was mouthing. What's wrong? I held up a finger, signaling I would explain later. Look, Dad, I don't care about ancient history. I care about my inheritance. 50 million is a lot of money. and I want to make sure there's no confusion about where it's going. There won't be any confusion. Good. So, when can we meet to discuss the transfer? I'm thinking after the funeral would be appropriate. Give it a few days. Then we'll sit down with lawyers and get this sorted. Emily reached for my hand. She was smiling, thinking Ethan was making plans to come home. Ethan, I want you to know something. You're absolutely right about one thing. What's that? There won't be any confusion about your inheritance at all. Great. So, we're on the same page completely, because your inheritance is going to be exactly what you gave your mother during her 14-year battle with cancer. What do you mean? I mean nothing. Ethan, you're getting nothing. The line went quiet for almost 8 seconds. Then, you can't do that. I'm your only child. I have legal rights. You have the legal right to contest my will. You don't have the legal right to inherit money from a father you abandoned. I didn't abandon anyone. I just chose not to participate in your drama. Well, I'm choosing not to participate in your inheritance. I hung up. Emily looked at me with questioning eyes. I sat down next to her bed and took her hand. Ethan sends his love. I lied. He wishes he could be here. She smiled and squeezed my hand. I know he does. I know our boy loves us. That recording, 7 minutes and 42 seconds of my son explaining why his dying mother meant nothing to him, would become the centerpiece of my presentation. Emily died 2 days later, March 22nd, 2024 at 4:12 in the morning. I was holding her hand when she took her last breath. The hospice nurse said it was peaceful. I said it was the end of everything good in my life. Ethan did not come to the hospital. He did not call. He did not send flowers. But he did show up to the funeral, walked in like he owned the place, wearing that Rolex and a designer suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. He sat in the front row, like he had been there through everything. That is when he made his demand. Right there, at the graveside, with Emily's casket being lowered into the ground, and 40 of our closest friends and family watching. I want my inheritance now, he said quietly, leaning over to me while the pastor was giving the final blessing. Not now, Ethan. Yes, now. 50 million. I know you have it. I want it transferred to my account by the end of the week. That is when I looked at him, really looked at him, and I smiled and I said, no. And that is when everything started to fall into place. That night, I sat in my home office looking at the biotech system sale contract. 50 million for the medical AI startup I had built over 18 years. The deal had closed 5 months earlier. The money was sitting in my account, earning interest, waiting for me to decide what to do with it. I pulled out my laptop and started typing. Emily Johnson Cancer Foundation. Emily's full name, Emily Ann Johnson. I called my attorney, Daniel Carter, at home. Daniel had handled all my business deals, including the biotech sale. He had also witnessed Ethan's absence throughout Emily's illness. Daniel, it's Barry. I need to establish a charitable foundation tonight. Barry, it's almost midnight, and you just buried Emily today. Maybe we should... Daniel, I need this done tonight. How long does it take to set up a foundation and transfer 50 million into it? There was a pause. Are you sure about this? That's your entire liquid net worth? I have never been more sure of anything in my life. By 3 a.m., the Emily Johnson Cancer Foundation was a legal entity. By 5 a.m., I had transferred the entire 50 million biotech sale proceeds into the foundation's account. By 7 a.m., I had appointed a board of directors, Dr. Laura Thompson, Emily's oncologist, Sarah Davis, the mayor of New York City, and Emily's longtime friend, and myself as chairman. The foundation's mission statement was simple: to provide financial assistance to families battling cancer, especially those who face the fight alone. I hand-wrote the first grant. $8,000 to the family in room 240 at New York Cancer Care Center. The husband had been sleeping in his car for 3 weeks because he could not afford both gas money to visit his wife and a hotel room. Their insurance did not cover experimental treatments. They had 4 kids at home being raised by grandparents. Exactly the kind of family Ethan would never understand. The kind of family that fights together instead of abandoning each other. But the foundation was just the beginning. Ethan wanted his inheritance. He was about to get exactly what he deserved. I pulled out the evidence folder I had been maintaining for 14 years. 230 unreturned calls, 78 refused visit requests, 14 years of monthly $150 payments, $800,000 in medical bills paid alone. And the recordings. Oh, the recordings. The Easter Sunday call was the worst, but it was not the only one. I had 11 separate conversations with Ethan over the years. Every single one documented his complete lack of concern for his dying mother. She made her choice to be sick. I don't care if she's dying. I'm not going to watch my life get ruined by cancer drama. You're just a failed programmer who got lucky once. I had it all. Every cruel word, every heartless dismissal, every time he chose his convenience over his mother's life. I made copies of everything. Digital copies, physical copies, backup copies stored in 4 different locations. Bank records showing the monthly payments. Hospital bills showing the medical costs. Phone logs showing the unreturned calls. The gala was 2 weeks away. The annual New York Cancer Research Gala at the Plaza Hotel. 400 of New York's most influential people, tech executives, medical professionals, city officials, philanthropists. Perfect timing. I called the gala organizers and made a $50 million donation on behalf of the Emily Johnson Cancer Foundation. Suddenly, I was not just attending the gala, I was the keynote speaker. Ethan wanted his inheritance. He would have to come and get it, in front of 400 witnesses. I started preparing my presentation. What Ethan did not know was that half of New York's legal community would be at that gala. The other half would hear about it before the night was over. My son had spent 14 years proving he did not deserve a penny of my money. Now I was going to spend one evening proving it to everyone else. 4 days after the funeral, I decided to test Ethan's true motivations. I called our family friend, Richard Evans, who worked in tech journalism for the New York Times. Richard had covered my biotech sale when it happened and knew about Ethan's long absence from our family. Richard, I need a small favor. Could you mention to a few people that the biotech sale is final and I'm considering my estate planning options? Nothing official. Just casual conversation. Of course. Barry, are you doing okay? I know this must be a difficult time. I'm doing exactly what needs to be done. The New York tech community is small. Everyone knows everyone else's business. I knew the information would reach Ethan within 24 hours. It took 48. My phone rang on a Friday evening. I was sitting in Emily's chair, the recliner where she had spent so many hours during her treatment, reading her medical journals. She had kept detailed notes about every appointment, every treatment, every side effect. I had never read them before. They broke my heart and strengthened my resolve in equal measure. Dad! Ethan's voice. The first time he had called me Dad in 14 years. Hello, Ethan. Hey, I was thinking about you, about how you're handling everything. The loss of Mom. I reached over and pressed record on the small device I had started keeping next to Emily's chair. Sony Icy Ducks, 570. Fits in a shirt pocket. Records for 40 hours straight. I'm managing. That's good. That's really good. I was actually wondering if we could talk. Maybe I could come over. We haven't really had a chance to, you know, connect since the funeral. Connect. Yeah, just family stuff. Catching up. I feel like maybe I haven't been as present as I should have been. Present. The word almost made me laugh. What would you like to talk about, Ethan? Well, I was talking to a friend who knows about these things, and he mentioned that after a major life event like this, it's important to make sure your financial planning is in order. You know, estate planning, investment strategies, that kind of thing. Your friend mentioned this. Yeah, he's a financial advisor. Really smart guy. And he said that sometimes people make emotional decisions after losing a spouse. Decisions they might regret later, such as donating too much to charity or making investments that don't make sense for someone your age. He said the smart thing is to keep wealth in the family where it belongs. I was taking notes now, writing down every word. Where wealth belongs. Exactly. You worked hard for that money. Dad, the biotech sale was huge. 50 million is serious wealth. And I just want to make sure it's protected. Protected from what? From people who might try to take advantage of you during a vulnerable time. Financial advisors who charge huge fees. Charities that waste donations on administrative costs. That kind of thing. I see. So, I was thinking maybe I could come over this weekend. We could go through your finances together as a family. I could help you make sure everything is set up properly. As a family. The phrase made my skin crawl. Ethan, can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you concerned about my financial planning now? You haven't asked about my finances in 14 years? That's not true. Dad, I've always cared about your well-being. When Emily was in the hospital the first time, did you ask about medical costs? That was different. When she relapsed and needed experimental treatments, did you offer to help with expenses? Dad, I was just starting my career then. What about last year, when the treatments weren't covered by insurance and I had to refinance the house? Silence. Ethan, I didn't know about the house because you never asked. In 14 years, you never once asked if we needed financial help. But 4 days after your mother's funeral, You're suddenly concerned about my estate planning. I'm worried about you, Dad, as your only heir. I have a responsibility to. There it was. As your only heir. Ethan, let me ask you something else. What do you think you've done to earn an inheritance? What do you mean? I mean specifically, what have you contributed to this family that would entitle you to my money? I'm your son. Biologically, yes. But what else? I don't understand the question. Let me make it simpler. When your mother was dying, where were you? Dad, we've been through this. We have. But I don't think you've really thought about it. So tell me. When Emily was in the hospital for her hysterectomy, where were you? I was living my life. When she was going through chemotherapy and losing her hair, where were you? Building my career. When she was so sick from radiation that she couldn't keep food down, where were you? Dad, this isn't fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair when your mother was dying? You said you didn't care. You said she made her choice to be sick. You said you made your choice to be successful. That's not what I meant. I recorded the call. Ethan. Dead silence. You recorded our call. I recorded all of our calls. All 3 of them in 14 years. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. New York is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I'm part of. And I've been recording every conversation we've had since 2013. Why would you do that? Because I wanted to remember exactly who my son really was. And now I do. He started talking faster, panic creeping into his voice. Dad, look, maybe I said some things I didn't mean. People say things when they're stressed. But we're family. Family forgives each other. Family shows up for each other. Ethan, family doesn't abandon each other during the worst moments of their lives. I'm trying to show up now. No, you're trying to collect your inheritance. There's a difference. What's that supposed to mean? It means you'll find out soon enough. I hung up. 25 minutes later, I watched from my living room window as Ethan's Mercedes pulled into my driveway. He sat in the car for almost 12 minutes, probably trying to decide whether to knock on the door. He finally got out, wearing jeans and a casual shirt, trying to look like the caring son coming to check on his grieving father. He even brought flowers, cheap grocery store lilies still in the plastic wrapper. But what Ethan's visit gave me was something more valuable than evidence. It gave me confirmation. 14 years of silence. Then 3 phone calls in 1 week. All after learning about my 50 million sale. My son was not interested in reconciliation. He was interested in collection. Ethan knocked on my door the next morning at exactly 10 a.m. When I opened it, he was standing there with Victoria Reynolds, a lawyer I recognized from downtown Manhattan legal circles. She was carrying a leather briefcase and wearing the kind of serious expression that meant business. Dad, this is Victoria Reynolds. She's an estate attorney. I know who she is. I stepped aside to let them in. Would you like coffee? That's very kind, Victoria said. But we're here on a time-sensitive matter. We sat in my living room, Ethan on the couch where he used to watch cartoons as a kid, Victoria in Emily's chair. I remained standing. Mister, Johnson, Victoria began. Your son has asked me to help facilitate the transfer of your assets to avoid any unnecessary probate delays. Transfer of my assets. Ethan has explained the family situation, the recent loss of your wife, your advanced age, the substantial inheritance involved. We think it would be prudent to begin the estate planning process now while you're still mentally competent. While I'm still mentally competent, the phrase hung in the air like smoke. Ethan told you I'm mentally incompetent. Not at all. Ethan jumped in. I just explained that grief can affect decision-making. Victoria thinks we should get everything legally documented while you're thinking clearly. I'm thinking very clearly. Victoria opened her briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. These are standard transfer papers. Nothing complicated. They just ensure that your assets will pass to your son without the expense and delay of probate court. She spread the papers across my coffee table. The $50 million from the biotech sale, the house, your retirement accounts. Everything transfers directly to Ethan upon your death. Or, if you prefer, we can set up a trust that begins transferring assets immediately. Immediately? Well, you're 65 years old, Ethan said. That money should be working for our family's future. I could invest it, grow it, make sure it's still there when you really need it. Our family. The phrase made my jaw clench. Ethan, can I ask you something? Sure. What makes you think this money belongs to you? He looked confused. I'm your only child. That's not what I asked. I asked, what makes you think you deserve it? Victoria cleared her throat. Mr. Johnson. Legally speaking, children don't have to deserve inheritance. It's a matter of natural succession. Natural succession? I sat down across from them. Tell me, Victoria, in your professional experience, do children who abandon their dying parents typically receive full inheritance? The circumstances of family relationships don't affect legal inheritance rights, she said carefully, but they affect moral inheritance rights. Don't they? Ethan shifted uncomfortably. Dad, we've been through this. I made some mistakes. I was young. You made mistakes, is that what we're calling it? Look, I should have been around more. I admit that. But people change. I want to be part of this family now. Part of this family. Ethan, there is no family. Your mother is dead. It's just me now. That's not true. We're still family. No, we're not. We're two people who share DNA. Family is something else entirely. Victoria was taking notes. Mr. Johnson, are you saying you intend to disinherit your son? I'm saying that Ethan will receive exactly what he gave his mother during her 14-year battle with cancer. Which is what? Ethan asked. Nothing. Ethan stood up. You can't do that. I have legal rights. You have the legal right to contest my will. You don't have the legal right to inherit money from a father you abandoned. I didn't abandon anyone. You walked out when your mother got cancer. You refused to visit her in the hospital. You hung up when I called to tell you she was dying. Victoria was writing furiously. Mr. Johnson, these are serious allegations. They're not allegations. They're documented facts. I have recordings. Ethan's face went white. Dad, you can't seriously be thinking of what giving my money to someone who actually deserves it. Someone who shows up when things get difficult instead of running away. You're making a mistake. Victoria said, a big mistake. Ethan could challenge this in court. I'm counting on it. They both stared at me. You're counting on a legal challenge, Victoria asked. I'm counting on Ethan being exactly who he's always been. Entitled, selfish, and completely predictable. I stood up and walked to the door. I think we're done here. Ethan and Victoria gathered their papers and headed for the door. Dad, you're going to regret this, Ethan said. The only thing I regret is waiting 14 years to cut you off. After they left, I called Daniel Carter. Daniel, I need you to document today's meeting. Ethan just brought a lawyer to my house, trying to force an immediate inheritance transfer. Barry, are you okay? I'm perfect. And Daniel, I want you to be ready for a legal challenge. Ethan's going to contest my will. Are you prepared for that? I've been preparing for that for 14 years. What Ethan did not realize was that half of New York's legal community would be at the gala next week, including Victoria Reynolds. Ethan's media campaign started 2 days later. I was having coffee in my kitchen when my neighbor Linda knocked on my door holding her phone. Barry, honey, have you seen Facebook today? She showed me Ethan's post. A photo of Emily from her wedding day. Beautiful and young, with the caption, grieving the loss of my beloved mother, Emily Johnson. During this difficult time, my father has been influenced by outside parties to deny my rightful inheritance. Mom would never have wanted our family torn apart by greed and manipulation. Please keep us in your thoughts as we navigate this painful situation. The post had 54 likes and 18 comments, all sympathy for poor Ethan, and suspicion about my mental state. That's not even the worst part, Linda said, scrolling down. Look at this. Another post from Ethan. Some people are asking about my inheritance situation. The truth is, my father is 65 years old and just lost his wife of 32 years. Grief can affect judgment. I'm just trying to protect our family's legacy from people who might take advantage of a vulnerable widower. Elder care. Family support. Elder care. I was 65 years old. Barry, you know this isn't true, right? Linda asked. You're one of the smartest people I know. I know. Linda, thank you. But the damage was spreading. By that afternoon, 3 more neighbors had called to check on me. Emily's sister, Sarah, called from Boston, confused by a message she had received from someone claiming I was being manipulated by financial advisors. Then Ethan escalated. That evening, I was watching the news when my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Johnson. This is Rebecca Lee from NBC News. We've received some concerning reports about elder financial abuse in your situation. Would you be willing to comment? Elder financial abuse. Your son contacted us about potential exploitation of your grief following your wife's death. He's claiming that outside parties are influencing your estate planning decisions. I sat down slowly. Did Ethan give you an interview? He did. We're planning to run the story tomorrow evening, unless you'd like to provide your perspective. Where did you meet with him? Our studio, downtown. He seemed very concerned about your well-being. What exactly did he tell you? I can't share details of an ongoing story. but he expressed worry about your mental state and mentioned that you're making irrational financial decisions that could leave you vulnerable in your later years. Later years. I was younger than half the tech executives in New York. Miss Lee, may I ask how long Ethan's interview was? About 15 minutes. Why? And in that 15 minutes, did he mention visiting his mother during her 14-year cancer battle? Silence? Miss Lee, we didn't discuss that specifically. Did he mention attending any of her treatments, being present for any of her surgeries, calling to check on her during her final weeks? Mr. Johnson, we focused on the current inheritance dispute. I see. And did Ethan provide any evidence of this alleged financial abuse? He mentioned concerns about sudden charitable donations and potential influence from outsiders. Charitable donations to cancer research in my wife's memory. That's the financial abuse. More silence. Miss Lee, before you run that story, I'd like you to consider something. My son, Ethan, walked out on this family 14 years ago when his mother was diagnosed with cancer. He never visited her in the hospital, never attended a single doctor's appointment, never called to check on her progress. But 4 days after her funeral, he showed up demanding $50 million. That's a very different story. It's the true story. And if NBC News is interested in the truth rather than a manipulative son's lies, I have documentation. The story never aired, but Ethan was not done. Over the next week, I received calls from 4 different financial advisors, 3 estate planning attorneys, and a social worker, all expressing concern about my decision-making capacity. Ethan had contacted them all, claiming I was showing signs of dementia and making irrational financial decisions under the influence of predatory advisors. The social worker visit was particularly insulting. A well-meaning woman named Susan Ramirez showed up at my door with a clipboard and a concerned expression. Mr. Johnson, I am here to do a wellness check. We've received reports that you might be experiencing cognitive decline following your wife's death. Cognitive decline. It's common for older adults to experience confusion and poor judgment during grief. Sometimes family members notice these changes before the person himself realizes what's happening. I invited her in and spent 40 minutes answering questions designed to test my mental capacity. What year is it? Who's the president? Can I count backward from 100 by 8s? When she finished, Susan looked embarrassed. Mr. Johnson, I have to say, you seem completely lucid and competent. Whoever called this in might have been mistaken about your condition or lying. I'm not supposed to speculate about that. Susan, the person who called this in is my son, who abandoned his dying mother and is now trying to have me declared incompetent so he can access my inheritance. Her expression hardened. That would be a very serious abuse of the elder protection system. Yes, it would. But Ethan's media campaign was about to backfire spectacularly because while he was busy telling everyone in New York that I was a confused old man being manipulated by outsiders, I was preparing to introduce him to 400 of New York's most influential people. And they were going to learn exactly who Ethan Johnson really was. 3 weeks before the gala, I spread everything across my dining room table. 14 years of evidence organized chronologically in labeled folders. Folder 1, Initial Abandonment, 2010. the hospital bracelet from Emily's first surgery, the discharge papers I had signed alone, 19 unreturned voicemails from the first month, screenshots of Ethan's Facebook posts from that period, party photos and vacation pictures while his mother was undergoing chemotherapy. Folder 2. Financial documentation, 2010 to 2024. 168 bank statements showing monthly $150 transfers to Ethan's account. Total $25,200 over 14 years. Medical bills totaling $800,000, all paid by me alone. Insurance claims, hospital invoices, prescription receipts, every dollar documented. Folder 3. Refusal to visit 2011 to 2024. 78 documented requests for Ethan to visit his mother. Hospital visiting schedules I had sent him. Holiday invitations. Birthday invitations. The Christmas card I had sent with a photo of Emily's treatment calendar, hoping he would see how much time we were spending at the hospital. Folder 4. Phone records, 2010 to 2024. Cell phone bills showing 230 calls to Ethan's number. Average call duration, 12 seconds, because that is how long it took for the calls to go to voicemail. I had calculated it exactly. Folder 5. The recordings. 11 audio files digitally transferred and backed up to 4 separate cloud services. The Easter Sunday call was track 6. Labeled Final Rejection 742. But there were others. The Thanksgiving 2020 call, where Ethan said he was too busy with real life to deal with family drama. The July 2022 call, where he said Emily was choosing to be depressed about cancer instead of fighting it. Each recording was transcribed, time-stamped, and cross-referenced with Emily's medical records. When Ethan said he did not have time for hospital visits, Emily was undergoing emergency surgery. When he said she was being dramatic about her prognosis, she was in hospice care. Folder 6. Social media evidence. Screenshots of Ethan's Instagram and Facebook posts during Emily's worst periods. His $120,000 Mercedes purchase post dated the same day Emily started her second round of chemotherapy. His vacation photos from Miami while she was in intensive care. His promotion celebration at Google while she was dying. I had hired a professional video editor, Lucas Ramirez, from Big Apple Media, to create a presentation. Lucas had worked on documentaries for New York International Film Festival. When I explained the project, he was horrified. "Mr. Johnson, I have to ask, are you sure you want to do this publicly?" Lucas, my son spent 14 years publicly ignoring his dying mother. I'm just providing context. The presentation was 16 minutes long. It started with Emily's wedding photo, beautiful and healthy, followed by her cancer timeline. Then it showed Ethan's timeline alongside hers. When Emily was diagnosed, Ethan was posting party photos. When Emily had surgery, Ethan was on vacation in Florida. When Emily relapsed, Ethan bought a luxury car. When Emily entered hospice, Ethan was celebrating his promotion. But the centerpiece was the audio evidence. Lucas had created visual waveforms for each recording with key quotes highlighted in text overlay. She made her choice to be sick. I made mine to be successful. I don't care if she's dying. I've got my own life now. You're just a failed programmer who got lucky once. That money belongs to me by right. The final slide was simple. A photo of Emily's gravestone, next to a bank statement showing Ethan's inheritance. $0 and 0 cents. I practiced the presentation 15 times. Daniel Carter came over to watch the final rehearsal. "Barry, this is devastating. Are you absolutely certain you want to do this?" "Daniel, Ethan made his choices. Now he gets to live with the consequences. But this will destroy him publicly. His career, his marriage, his reputation." "Good. Maybe he should have thought about that before he destroyed his relationship with his dying mother." The guest list for the gala was impressive. Mayor Sarah Davis would be there. She had known Emily since college. Dr. Laura Thompson, Emily's oncologist, was receiving a humanitarian award. Google executives, New York tech leaders, cancer researchers, philanthropists, and yes, Victoria Reynolds would be there. The lawyer Ethan had brought to my house would watch her client get exposed as a fraud in front of 400 witnesses. I had confirmed Ethan's attendance through Sarah Davis, who had mentioned the gala to him at a tech industry mixer. Ethan had immediately asked about getting tickets. Of course, he had $50 million donations got people's attention. What Ethan did not know was that he was not going to be a guest at the gala. He was going to be the main event. Tonight, 400 of New York's most influential people would learn exactly who Ethan Johnson really was. They would hear his voice dismissing his dying mother. They would see the evidence of his 14-year abandonment. They would witness a grown man's public tantrum when he realized his inheritance was gone forever. And they would understand why some children do not deserve their parents' money. The presentation was loaded onto my laptop. The audio files were tested and ready. The documentation was organized in backup folders just in case. Ethan Johnson wanted his inheritance. He was about to get exactly what he deserved. The Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom was magnificent that night. Crystal chandeliers, 10-foot projection screens, 400 guests in formal attire. The annual New York Cancer Research Gala had raised over $1.5 million. But tonight was different. Tonight was about the Emily Johnson Cancer Foundation and its $50 million founding donation. I wore Emily's favorite tie, navy blue with small silver dots. She had bought it for me 18 years ago and always said it brought out my eyes. I had worn it to every important business meeting since then. Tonight felt like the most important meeting of my life. Ethan arrived at exactly 7:45, fashionably late in his black Mercedes, through the ballroom windows. I watched him hand his keys to the valet. Designer tuxedo, patent leather shoes, that Rolex Submariner catching the light. He looked like success. He looked like someone who belonged at a 50 million charity gala. He had no idea what was coming. I was scheduled to speak at 8:30 after dinner, but before the auction, Mayor Sarah Davis was introducing me as one of New York's most generous philanthropists and a devoted husband who never forgot what truly matters. Ethan found me during cocktail hour, weaving through the crowd with a champagne flute and a confident smile. "Dad, I'm so glad you invited me." I had not invited him. Sarah Davis had mentioned the gala to him exactly as I had known she would. "Ethan, this is incredible. Look at this turnout. And 50 million. That's going to change a lot of lives." "Yes, it is." I have to admit, I was surprised when I heard about the donation, but I'm proud of you for doing something meaningful with the money. Proud of me, as if he had any right to be proud or disappointed in my choices. Doctor. Laura Thompson joined us, elegant in a burgundy gown. Barry, are you ready for your speech? I'm ready. Ethan, it's nice to see you again, she said politely. Ethan looked confused. Again. From the hospital. I was your mother's oncologist for 14 years. Ethan's confident smile faltered. Oh, right. Of course. I always wondered why I never met you during her treatment. Your mother spoke about you often. I was living my own life, building my career. Of course. Well, I'm sure she understood. Doctor? Thompson walked away, leaving Ethan looking uncomfortable. Dad, maybe we should... Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced, please take your seats for dinner. The meal was excellent, but I barely tasted it. Ethan sat 4 tables away, charming tech executives and their wives, playing the role of the grieving son. I watched him tell animated stories, probably about his success at Google, his investment strategies, his bright future. He had no idea his future was about to change forever. At 8:25, Mayor Davis took the stage. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we celebrate not just medical research, but the kind of love that turns tragedy into hope. Our keynote speaker has just established the Emily Johnson Cancer Foundation with a $50 million founding donation. But more importantly, he's shown us what it means to honor a loved one's memory through action. Please welcome Barry Johnson. Applause filled the ballroom. I walked to the podium, my laptop connected to the projection screens. Ethan was clapping enthusiastically, probably thinking this was his moment to bask in reflected generosity. Thank you all for being here tonight. I want to tell you about my wife, Emily Ann Johnson. Emily's wedding photo appeared on the screens. Gasps of appreciation from the audience. She was luminous in that photo, 26 years old and ready to conquer the world. Emily and I were married for 32 years. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer when she was 46. She fought that disease for 14 years. 14 years of surgeries, chemotherapy, radiation, experimental treatments, clinical trials. 14 years of hope and setbacks and small victories and devastating defeats. The slide showed Emily's journey. Hospital photos, treatment schedules, family pictures. The audience was captivated. Cancer doesn't just attack the patient. It attacks the entire family. It tests relationships. It reveals character. It shows you who will stand with you when everything falls apart. I clicked to the next slide. Some people rise to meet that challenge. Doctors like Laura Thompson, who spent 14 years fighting for Emily's life. Friends like Sarah Davis, who visited every week. Nurses who became family. Strangers who became friends. Another click, and some people run away. The slide showed a timeline. Emily's diagnosis on the left, Ethan's abandonment on the right. My son Ethan was 18 when his mother was diagnosed. He was young, scared, unprepared for what lay ahead. I understood that. What I didn't understand was his response. I could see Ethan at his table, confusion turning to alarm. Ethan told his dying mother that she had chosen to be sick. He told me that cancer was drama he didn't want to be part of. He walked out of our home and never came back. The ballroom was completely silent now. For 14 years. While Emily underwent treatments, Ethan lived his life. He graduated college, started his career, bought expensive cars, took luxury vacations. He posted photos on social media of parties and promotions while his mother was fighting for her life. I clicked to the next slide. Side-by-side photos of Emily in chemotherapy and Ethan on a beach in Miami. He visited the hospital exactly 0 times. He attended exactly 0 doctor appointments. He sent exactly 0 birthday cards, Christmas presents, or flowers. Ethan was half standing at his table now, his face white. Victoria Reynolds, his lawyer, was tugging at his sleeve, trying to get him to sit down. But he did cash 168 checks, $150 every month for 14 years, $25,200 total. I sent him that money, thinking maybe somehow it would remind him that he had a family. The projection screen showed bank records, check images, deposit statements. Instead, he cashed every check and used the money to supplement the lifestyle he'd built while abandoning his dying mother. "Dad, stop!" Ethan called out from his table. His voice cracked across the silent ballroom. The total cost of Emily's 14-year cancer battle was $800,000. I paid every penny alone while sending my son grocery money. I clicked to the audio files. But I want you to hear Ethan's own words about his mother's battle. The first recording began to play. Ethan's voice, clear and unmistakable. She made her choice to be sick. I made mine to be successful. Gasps throughout the ballroom. Several people turned to stare at Ethan, who was now standing fully, shaking his head. "That's taken out of context," he shouted. "Let's hear more context." I said calmly, "The Easter Sunday recording. I don't care if she's dying. I've got my own life now." A woman at the front table put her hand over her mouth. A man near the back shook his head in disgust. "Dad, you can't do this." Ethan was moving toward the stage now. "And here's what my son said about me when I asked him to visit his dying mother one last time." Ethan's voice again. "You're just a failed programmer who got lucky once. You don't understand what success actually looks like." The entire ballroom was staring at Ethan now. He was halfway to the stage, his face red with rage and embarrassment. 4 days after Emily's funeral, Ethan came to me with one request. Not reconciliation, not forgiveness, not a chance to grieve together. He wanted his inheritance, $50 million from the sale of my company. I clicked to the final slide, the Emily Johnson Cancer Foundation logo. So, I gave Ethan exactly what he gave his mother during her 14-year battle with cancer. Nothing. Ethan reached the stage and lunged for the microphone. "You're destroying my life." Security guards were moving in now, but I held up a hand to stop them. "Ethan, you destroyed your own life. You destroyed it the day you walked out on your dying mother. I'm just making sure everyone knows who you really are. This is slander. This is illegal. This is truth. And truth isn't illegal, son." The security guards gently but firmly escorted Ethan from the ballroom. As they reached the doors, he turned back and screamed, "You'll regret this. I'll sue you for everything." I stepped back to the microphone. The Emily Johnson Cancer Foundation We'll provide financial assistance to families facing cancer together, to parents who don't abandon their children during treatment, to children who don't abandon their parents during illness, to families who understand that love means showing up when things get difficult. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes, but the real consequences were just beginning. The video went viral within 5 hours. Someone had live streamed my speech on Facebook, and by morning, New York son abandons dying mother was trending on Twitter. The audio recordings had been shared thousands of times. Ethan's own words condemning him in his own voice. Google's Human Resources Department called Ethan Monday morning. An ethics investigation was open Tuesday. By Friday, Ethan was on administrative leave pending a full review of character concerns incompatible with company values. His wife, Sophia, filed for divorce that same week. She had been at the gala, sitting 3 tables away from Ethan, hearing every word. Her attorneys cited irreconcilable differences and newly discovered information about spouse's character in the filing. The harassment stopped immediately. No more social workers. No more concerned phone calls about my mental state. No more lawyers showing up at my door with inheritance documents. Victoria Reynolds sent a formal letter withdrawing from Ethan's case, citing client misrepresentation of facts material to the legal matter. 4 local news stations picked up the story. The New York Times ran a feature about the Emily Johnson Cancer Foundation under the headline, "Tech Billionaire Honors Wife's Memory While Teaching Son About Family Values." But the real victory came 2 weeks later. I was visiting Emily's grave, bringing fresh flowers and the foundation's first quarterly report, when my phone rang. Ethan's number. I almost did not answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello? Ethan?" His voice was different, smaller somehow. "Dad, I wanted to talk." "About what?" "About everything. About Mom. About what I did. About what I said." I sat down on the bench near Emily's headstone. "And what did you do, Ethan?" "I abandoned her. I abandoned both of you when you needed me most. Yes, you did. I'm sorry." 2 words. 14 years too late. I know you are, Ethan. But sorry doesn't give you back the time you missed with your mother. Sorry doesn't erase the recordings. Sorry doesn't undo the choices you made. I know. I wanted you to know that I understand now. Do you? I lost everything. Dad, my job, my wife, my reputation, everything. And what did you learn from that long pause? That actions have consequences. That's right. They do. Another pause. Is there any chance could we maybe try to? Ethan, you're getting exactly what you gave your mother. Nothing. I hung up and placed the flowers on Emily's grave. The foundation saved its first family that month, a single father of 4 whose wife was undergoing experimental leukemia treatment. We paid their mortgage for 5 months and covered their children's childcare while he stayed at the hospital. Their 7-year-old daughter drew me a picture of an angel. She said it looked like the lady whose name was on the foundation. I think Emily would have approved. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.